How are you doing, everybody? Welcome to our today's news from Germany. 49th Ordinary Session of the EU Executive Council opens in Finfinne. The 48th Ordinary Session of the Africa Union Executive Council has officially opened in Finfinne, bringing together foreign ministers from across the continent for high-level discussion. The meeting is expected to shape the Africa Union policy agenda ahead of upcoming EU Assembly of Heads of State and Government, conveyed under the Africa Union's 2026 theme of the year, ensuring sustainable access to safe water supply and safe managed sanitation system for the achievement of Agenda 2063. The two-day ministerial session is expected to develop coordinated strategies to address Africa's key development challenges while advancing the continent's long-term vision of integration, prosperity, and sustainable development. The opening ceremony was attended by senior African and international leaders, including AU Commission Chairperson Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Ethiopian Foreign Minister Gideon Timotheus, United Nations Deputy Secretary General and Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission of Africa, Claver Gatete, and Burundi's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Development Cooperation, Edward Bizimana, who is chairing the current session of the Executive Council. Foreign ministers from AU member states, senior government officials, diplomats, and representatives of regional and international organizations are participating in the meeting. During the two-day session, ministers are expected to discuss a range of strategies, priorities aimed at strengthening regional integration, enhancing cooperation among member states, and advancing the implementation of Agenda 2063, the African Union's blueprints for an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful continent. Key agenda in turn including review progress in implementing Agenda 2063, assessing decision and institutional framework adopted under the formal Organization of Africa Union, and evaluating achievements made under the AU's 2026 theme of the year. The Executive Council is also expected to formulate policy recommendations and draft a decision for consideration and adoption by the Assembly of Heads of State and Government, reinforcing its central role in shaping the continent's political, economic, and development priorities. This year, discussions place a particular emphasis on strengthening water security, expanding access to safely managed sanitation service, enhancing climate reliance, and promoting the sustainable management of natural resources as key drivers of African social economic transformation and the implementation of Agenda 2063. The fourth ordinary session of AU Executive Council is scheduled to conclude on Wednesday, laying the groundwork for the upcoming Summit of African Leaders in Finfinne. Azerbaijan parliamentary speaker arrives in Ethiopia to deepen bilateral relationship. A speaker of the Milli Majlis Parliament of the Azerbaijan, Sahiba Gafarova, arrived in Finfinne today for an official visit aimed at strengthening the growing partnership between Ethiopia and Azerbaijan. Upon her arrival at Finfinne Bole International Airport, Speaker Gafarova was warmly welcomed by Deputy Speaker of Ethiopian House of Peoples, Representative Lomi Bado, and State Minister of Foreign Affairs Ambassador Brown Agai, reflecting the importance both countries attach to the expanding diplomatic ties. During her official visit, Speaker Gafarova is expected to hold high-level discussion with senior Ethiopian government officials on ways to further enhance bilateral cooperation and deepen parliamentary diplomacy between the two countries. The talks are anticipated to focus on broadening collaboration in areas of mutual interest, promoting stronger political and institutional engagement, and exploring new avenues for partnership that contribute to the shared development aspiration of Ethiopia and Azerbaijan. The visit underscores the growing momentum in Ethiopia-Azerbaijan relations and highlights the commitment of both nations to expanding cooperation through sustainable political dialogue, strengthening parliamentary engagement, and closer diplomatic collaboration. Ethiopia and United States have reaffirmed their commitment to deepening economic and commercial cooperation as senior officials held talks focused on advancing investment, expanding bilateral trade, and strengthening private sectors partnerships. Ethiopian Minister of Finance Ahmed Shide met today with Mark Mitchell, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Africa at U.S. Department of Commerce. The two-side discussion Ethiopia's ongoing economic reform agenda, investment opportunities, and prospects for enhancing economic engagement between the two countries. During the meeting, Finance Minister Ahmed outlined the government's comprehensive macroeconomic and structure reform program. He further highlighted significant progress made in recent years as a result of the the reform to foster a more competitive economy, improve a business climate, and create a stronger enable environments for private sector-led growing and foreign direct investment, aimed at reaffirming the government's commitment to sustainable reform that enhance economic competitiveness, expand market opportunities, and position Ethiopia as an attractive destination for international investors. On his part, Mark Mitchell, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Africa at the U.S. Department of, commended the progress achieved under the Ethiopian's reform program and welcomed the government's continued efforts to improve the investment climate. He reaffirmed the U.S. Department of Commerce commitment to promote stronger commercial relations and supporting increased engagement between American companies and the Ethiopian market. The two sides also exchanged views on expanding bilateral trade and investment, strengthening private sector collaboration, and promoting greater business-to-business partnership across key sectors. Among the issues discussed was Ethiopia's landmark new international airport development project, with both sides exploring the interest of U.S. financing institution in supporting the financing of the strategic infrastructure initiative. The official emphasized the sustained dialogues and closer economic cooperation will be instrument in unlocking new investment opportunities, facilitating private sector engagement, and fostering mutual beneficial economic growth. They also pledged to further strengthening United States economic and commercial relationship while pursuing practical measures to boost trade, attract investment, and expand long-term business cooperation. Africa must shape a new global order as a world undergoes transformation, Gideon Timotheus said. The foundation of the global order are undergoing profound transformation, making it imperative for Africa to set the momentum and actively shape the counters of the emerging international reality, Ethiopia's Foreign Minister Gideon Timotheus said, addressing the opening of the 49th Ordinary Session of the Executive Council of the African Union in Finfinne. The Foreign Minister said the continent is meeting a defining moment in international affairs as a geopolitical shift, technological distribution, climate pressures, and competition over strategic resources reshape the world order. The foundations of the global order are undergoing profound transformation, Gideon said, noting that the assumptions underpinning international relations for decades are being fundamentally challenged. Description the current period as one of disdain for the historical books. He stressed that Africa must not remain a passive observer but should position itself as a strategic actor capable of influencing global development. We need to seize the moment to actively shape the contours of the new reality, the minister emphasized. According to the Gideon, the continent must strengthen its capacity to provide African solution to global challenge through a stronger and more effective African Union. The African Union has a central role in endeavor. Our union must serve as the institution through which Africa articulates its priority and advance in interest. The union should emerge as a credible and authentic voice of Africa. He says despite the complex global environment, Gideon underscored that Africa's trajectory remains promising. He pointed out that 8 of the world's 10 faster-growing economies in 2026 are African, adding that the continent is poised to become an engine of global economic growing economic in 2026 are African, adding that the continent is poised to become an engine of global economic growing during the second half of the 21st century. The foreign minister reaffirmed Ethiopian commitment to the African Union, described it as the instable machines mechanism for continental solidarities, collective actions, and shared future. Calling of bold institutional transformation, Gideon said reform efforts should extend beyond technical adjustment to embrace a deeper political and strategic recalibration capable of responsibility to today's rapidly evolving global realities. He also stressed the urgency of security, the African Union financial sustainable and independent, noting that continental organizations seeking to shape global affairs must possess adequate and predictable resources to implement its decisions on the management of Africans' valuable natural resources. The minister urged member states to pursue cooperation, equitable utilization, and Africa-led government framework. African resources must be managed through African institutions, African framework, and Africa-led solution. He said, adding that sharing resources should become a bridge for cooperation, regional integration, and shared prosperities. Foreign minister and senior officials from across the continent are convening in Finfinne for the 49th Ordinary Session of the AU Executive Council, where discussions are focusing on key continental priorities including water security, sanitation, institutional reform, and sustainable development. We come to conclude our today's news. Thank you very much for you to be with us. Goodbye.